Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the platform. Welcome back to Healthy Accord. On this platform, I speak on all things spirituality as it applies to what we humans, what our duties are with the existing rules and regulations of the grand order of nature, of the celestial realm that I have come to find that it is super helpful and impactful towards one's growth. If that interests you, I highly suggest and recommend that you subscribe to the platform. That way you can be notified when I make new content around spirituality. Today's video is in continuation to the series Divination, specifically spiritual divination. Today, I shall be speaking and teaching on client etiquette for spiritual divination. The first two videos are up and available for your viewing pleasure. They offer some tidbits of information which you may already know, and others you may not know, and hopefully with the explanation that I provided therein, it can add to wisdom you may have and likely maybe expand or offer explanation on things you may not already know. So I encourage you to view those two videos on divination. Jumping right in. What are the client etiquette for spiritual divination? Before I go into explanation, I wish to provide you an example, one you are very familiar with. We all go to the dentist, our general health practitioner, and other institutional doctoral specialists. As you are familiar with what that etiquette, you would already know then some of the things that I shall be speaking on because it is closely related to the etiquette that is established when you are going for your doctor's visit or your dentist visit or any other institutional doctoral appointment, how you would or expected to conduct yourself. That is no different from what I shall be speaking on. There are a lot of similarities that will carry over, and some that are different when you are meeting with a spiritual doctor, diviner, priestess, or shaman. Those are the many names that these healers are known by. So, what I said, when you go to your doctor's visit, first you make your appointment and you are expected to show up on time for your appointment. If it is an in person appointment or virtual, you are expected to show up on time for your appointment. And while at your doctor's visit, you are encouraged and also expected to have questions. So, with that foundation in mind, we can jump in with the client etiquette for spiritual divination. First and foremost, it helps if you are serious about the process and not joking. And what I mean by that is, in this day and time, certain individuals are interested in, well, either chasing trend or engaging in certain things just so they can go and laugh about it or have a good story to tell with their buddies. I, to myself, have been in spaces where people did disclose that they just try certain things, just for the heck of it. Be that as it is, this is not one of the doctoral visit to engage in if you are not serious. These doctors, in the previous video, I did mention as to um, the serious efforts that they do put prior to sitting with you. So if you wish to know what those efforts are, do go and check out that second video. So, like I was saying, it helps if you are serious and not joking. And for those of you that are in urgent situation where the temperature is on, the pressure is on, of course, you are very interested in meeting with the priestess or shaman. So I have to say that in this day and age of trend seekers and people just doing things just to be funny or to have a good story or to just participate in the performance theatric that is out there. So please spare yourself and these uh, healers and diviners, spare both of you guys that if you are not serious. Moving on from that, first and foremost, client etiquette, make your appointment. When you are serious, if you are serious, to know about your life purpose, what you ought to be doing, and receive confirmation from your dedicated, loving, supportive guards and guardians. Get confirmation from them as to whether you are on the right path. When you make your appointment, like a doctor's visit, they are doctors, healers, and diviners, that is. I encourage you to set a good chunk of time, as in clear your schedule. When we are going for our doctor's visit, our general practitioner or dentist visit, we do take time off work. We do, depending on how far of a distance we have to travel there, we do sometimes either take half a day off work or sometimes the whole day of work just to rest. I actually encourage, from personal experience, I actually encourage if one takes either half a day or the whole day off work, if you have a 9 to 5 job that you need to clock into, take half a day off or the whole day off and allow yourself to just marinate with the information and just give yourself some emotional bandwidth for this very important doctor's visit. So you've scheduled your appointment, you've set a good chunk of time, space aside. The next thing to then consider is that you want to be home. You want to be home in a very quiet area of your home. It is very unproductive to the process, to your effort, to your financial resource, to the information you will be receiving from your guards and guardians. It is unproductive, unhelpful, and just messy if you are not in a quiet space for you to receive all of these goodness that they wish to share with you. Okay, so being home, very important. I do not recommend you either driving or trying to take the call on the Bluetooth while you are driving. Oh no, please do not do that. It's a safety concern, actually. Please do not do that. And secondly, try not to take this particular call or doctor's visit in your car in a public space, because there are energies out there. And while you are in this container, which the diviner, shaman, priestess has prepared for you and for your ancestors to, come through and meet with you, that container is being protected and held rightfully so for that particular session. And your diviners, their guards and guardians, is actually working to keep that portal clear for the information to come through for you. So you are, well, messing up the flow of the process. You are hindering the process if you then go and try to take this call in a public space where there are other interference. There are other interference. So your financial resources, your emotional resources, and the futuristic helpfulness about this process for you is super important. So all I can do is tell you, try not to take this particular spiritual divination call in your car or in any public space. Try your best to be home. Now, for those that heed this advice, you are home, you have taken half a day off or the whole day off. I also advise that you have a pen and paper ready for those of you that can write fast. If you cannot write fast, I encourage you to message the diviner, priestess, or shaman in advance, asking their permission if you may record the session via audio. You may also ask their permission if you may record the session, through other technological software or apps that you have. It is important that you ask them that in advance so that they are aware and then, guiding you or giving you permission to do so. And more on why you ought to have a pen and paper. I personally like to write things down, although sometimes, from experience, I could not write faster because they were just sending a lot of information. So I did my best to write as much as possible. And for every spiritual guidance, counseling that I have received, I always have had pen and paper to take notes. Now, the next thing that I wish to mention as to client etiquette for spiritual divination is prepare at least 3 questions. Prepare at least 3 questions for your spiritual doctor. At the end of the session, every one of them have asked, "Do you have questions?" Now, of course, it's not feasible for you to come with like 10 questions or, 5 questions. 3 at most. They might answer out of that 3. 2.5 might be answered depending on the time block that you've booked with them. You may have 3 questions answered. And also keep in mind, even though the healer diviner will open the floor for questions, it also depends on, well, how established are you with communicating with your ancestors, and they want to know too. They want to know where you are in your heart with being serious, going forward, walking with spirit, getting right on your purpose if you are not already there. And the questions that you come with allows them to know your seriousness and how interested you are getting right and going on the right path with your ascension. So I'll leave it there. Have 3 questions, prepare, and possibly 1 or 2 of those questions would be answered definitely. Next, this part is very important, and it also depends on, again, the length of time that you book for your divination and the type of divination that you've booked. The healer, shaman, priestess, diviner, depending on which ancestral institution, which ancestral um, modality that they choose to divine with, it matters that you do what they ask. For example, certain shamans or priestess may choose to divine with bone reading or shell reading, cowrie shell, or pulling from the tarot cards divination, or water scrying divination, or simply allowing your ancestors to speak directly through them, the medium aspect of it. I mean, all of those parts of divinations, is it parts? All of those means and methods of divination, whether it is the water method, the tarot card pulling, or cowrie shell, or bone reading, all of those methods, they are being medium. So, what I had mentioned about, the priestess or shaman having ancestors speak directly through them, it is the same. So, your client etiquette for the divination session is you must do what they ask as it applies to when they ask you to bring certain things. Um, yes, of course, when one is insecure about the whole process, sometimes we delay unnecessarily by not asking questions for clarification. So, what I would say to that is, from my experience, observation, and insight, ancestors are our loving, rightful, um, truthful life forms. They care, they protect, and they do a whole lot more that words cannot even describe. They love us unconditionally. So oftentimes the insecurity just stems from a lot of external slags and lags that makes us not come forward to them in the confident way that we ought to. So from experience, I highly advise and suggest to you that when the diviner or shaman asks you to bring certain things, feel into your heart space, especially if there is, well, discomfort about what they're asking. And secondly, confidently ask them. If you have more questions, ask them. These are doctors of spirit. They have been signed off, anointed. And for the ones that are going forward, making their services public, they were, in my belief, those ones that I sat with at least, their ancestors signed off on them. Their ancestors gave them permission to go forward and make their services public. So, with that in mind, in heart, especially if you vetted and discern and they pass all your discernment metrics, ask them questions. Whatever hiccup that comes up within you and you're feeling uncomfortable about, ask them questions, get clarification. Okay? So, jumping back to this point, bringing the specific things that they shall ask for. Um, I had an oopsie very early on in my awakening to the vitality that is ancestors' love and grace with and around me. My oopsie was the priestess asked me, "Hey, bring a shell." And all along, ancestors, spirit, it was a week in advance. I kept getting from my heart space, "Do you know what type of shell she's asking you to bring? Go and ask her what type of shell." I just didn't. I could not tell you why I did not message the priestess to ask what type of shell it was. I just didn't. It must have been maybe laziness or just didn't want to or insecurity. I think it was a little bit good chunk of insecurity and sprinkle with some laziness. I just did not ask the priestess what type of shell. As a result of not bringing the specific item, I was not given the depth of that wish could have been given. With that example, and with the years of observation, especially with ancestors, um, love and support and protection around me, that example points to a connection. And that connection is ask and you shall receive. So when I was asked to bring a shell, had I brought the specific shell that the priestess um, told me to bring, then I was going to receive. So you all are familiar with, this phrase, ask and you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. The shell was the ask. If I brought the shell, then I receive. That wish is imbued in the shell symbolically, spiritually, and a whole lot more I don't even have words for. And with that, that is how spirit works. You don't ask? Well, they don't force. From experience, they don't force, they don't impose. I mean, your loved ones are your loved ones. There will be reminder, and throughout the entire course of that week, I kept hearing from my heart space, go and ask about the specific, go and ask. I just didn't. I got the reminder. I was able to hear it. I was able to hear it. I was like, well, I'll just bring, I brought an eggshell. I brought an empty eggshell, and she was not able to give me what I ought to have received in that divination. She did give me a good bit of generalities, but in bringing the specific, if I had asked and I would have received clarification to bring this specific, and then bringing that specific, I would have received a world of, you know, uh, support, which spirit, is available to provide. Okay, moving on from there. Last but not the least, this process is very important, like I have stated in other previous videos. It is important for one's growth. It is important in regards to one finding out and confirming what their life purpose is. So, with all of that and then some, should you, the person, be interested in aligning with your path, and you are interested in just knowing more deeply who you are, spiritual divination from the rightful priestess, shaman, or diviner is exactly what you may want. And I believe I have touched upon everything that I wanted to touch upon. I'm just reviewing my notes here. So I shall not drag this on any further. I'll just, you know, conclude with the main points. Schedule your appointment, show up on time, make sure you are home in a quiet space, have possibly 3 questions because Spirit will be expecting you, your ancestors. They love you, they're expecting you to have questions. Bring what the priestess, diviner, or shaman ask you to bring. It is not expected that they will ask you to bring anything. Um, and last but not the least, it helps if you are serious. I hope that this insight of client etiquette for spiritual divination, I hope it is helpful to you. And this video concludes this series of spiritual divination. I am excited to provide this information, and you possibly might be wondering what are the laws and rules and regulations that I always speak of in the intro of my video. Well, the rules and regulations, these videos, specifically divination, is tied into that, the rules and regulation. We humans, as we go about our day to day life, we are groomed. Maybe groomed is not the right word since it implies something else. We are trained and indoctrinated to follow the rules and regulations for the Department of Transportation, or if we want to book a flight, or if we want to sign up for certain contracts or programs, we know we have to follow certain steps. Well, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the spiritual world mirrors similarly, but in a very deep and profound ways. So the rules and regulations that we are familiar to follow, it is not any different from the rules and regulation that the spirit world, uh, yes, enforces. The spirit world does enforce that because there are rules and guidelines set in place. Divination is one of those technology that brings us and connects us to our rightful guards and guardians. It is part of us knowing what the rules and regulations are. The more you deepen your connection with your spirit guides, the more you deepen your practice or just do simple tasks as going for a walk in nature on a regular basis, you will start to observe what these rules are. And I'll leave that there. Thank you so much for tuning into the platform Healthy Accord. And I hope that this series of divination, spiritual divination, insight provided therein is helpful to you with your journey. And I encourage you to share this video with your social circle, share this video where you believe others would be receptive to it or find the information helpful. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.